this is for the people that are using the triangular stock. So the triangle stock leading edge, 1/16 sheet. I'm going to sit this thing right down in here, so the whole thing is perfectly flush with this end and sticking past the other point. And what I'm going to do is we're going to have to wet the wood if it won't bend. This is such a slight bend I won't have to wet it, but I'm going to probably do it anyway. But what I'm trying to do right now is just mark the distance. We want to go across the spar, and where your shear webs are, you want to end it at the shear webs. So the way I do it, I just put it down and curl it, and I'll just mark on the end. The shear web ends over there, and I'll come to the other side of the wing, and I'm going to mark right where it ends at the end of the wing tip. Now I'll cut my sheet to that, so I'll just use a straight edge and cut that edge right off. And you can go a little over if you want, it's a little safer, and then you can just sand it down flush with the end of the wing tip. Give it a nice slice. So now I got my mark for the other side of the webs. Now I'm going to go ahead and line that back up. I'm going to kind of put it in at an angle so I know it sits right down against the front of the rib and right against the base of the triangle. And I'm going to fold this end down and mark where it is in the web. You can see it from the side, so I'm going to just peek over from the side here and mark it there. Now if you can't see the web, don't be afraid to just slide it down a little bit, and then you'll see the web, and you can just mark it right on the angle there. So I ran my glue bead right down the sides here, and I'm going to let that fully dry. But while I'm waiting for that part to dry, I'm going to go ahead and mark off my other sheet on this side. As long as I got that clamped, I don't have to worry about moving the wing. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to do this front part right here, flush. And then I'm going to come over here and mark this end and the top end, and I'll cut that sheet in half so then I can get my measurements for the top. You can see this side is somewhat dried, but I took the clamps off and put it over there, and I've glued my beads over here now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bend the wood down and we're going to put it on there. But some wood is a little stiffer than others. This wood's just fine for what I'm going to do. But I'm going to show you the technique anyway for warping the wood. And usually you just use a spray bottle, and you can use water, ammonia-based stuff. Windex works good. You want something that's going to get in there and just make the wood soft, so it'll just bend around nicely. Now the guys that are doing the square piece cut will show another video of how to wrap the whole wood around. Same technique. You're just going to use a spray bottle with water or ammonia in it, and you're just going to wrap the whole thing right around it and warp it that way. There's a couple different techniques for it that we'll list for you so you can see how it's done. But basically I just use a bowl of water because I can't find a spray bottle, and I just take my fingers and I'm just going to wet the wood. Just going to dampen it a little bit, that's all. Just makes it a little bit more pliable. So as you wet the wood, it's going to start softening it up to bow around. And the good thing about the water is that the zap, or the CA glue that you use, adheres extremely quickly when the wood is damp. So be prepared to, when you stick it down, it's pretty much going to be there. So this is just a good thing to do. Just going right across the whole 2-foot section. Now, even if you have the 48-foot section, you're going to wrap the whole front end, and then you can cut out the center, or you can just do it in 2-foot sections like this, because on the top and bottom you're going to cut this middle piece out anyway. So I'm just dampening the wood down. You can use a sponge, but the best thing to use is a spray bottle. It gets it done a little quicker than rubbing it in, but this works for me, so I'm going with it. Like I said, we're in the middle of moving, so I can't find my spray bottle. Alright, so now the wood's all wet and damp. Just used some warm water on it, that's all I used. It's only 1/16 wood, but if you're using 3/32 or something a little stiffer, you might need to soak it with a little bit more of water, but I didn't even need to water this one, but I'm going to anyway just to help it stick a little faster. And I'm just going to take my CA glue. Remember, everything's always with a nice flat wing. And now I'm just going to glue a bead right across the top of the spar here. and then I'll press this right down onto it. Alright, so now I'm just going to take my glue, just going to give it a nice coating right across the top of this spar, and we'll get it on the ribs. We'll flip the wing over and do the inside. We won't be able to have that luxury when we do the top because the bottom will be closed in, but we have that luxury right now, so I'm going to take full advantage of it. I'm just going to press the wood right down onto it. As you can see, that's pretty much stuck there. That's how fast it is with the water. It's a real quick process. If you want to clamp it, feel free. Some of the woods, like I said, are a little stiffer, so they won't dry up as fast. But there you go. It's still coming up a little bit. But you want to just stretch it over each rib. Keep pressing it down. And I didn't soak the bottom of the wood, so that's probably why it's probably wet down there. I'm telling you, you get the wood good and wet and hit that zap to it, it runs right through it. Oh, she's stuck. Alright. Okay, make a liar out of me. So I'll just keep holding it. Or I'll get some weight. Put that on and let it dry that way. I'll need a couple spots to weight it if it's giving you trouble. And that's stuck already. Yeah, so just that one spot. There we are. That's how you warp your wood. Get it down on there. And the best part about it, doing the wing halves like this in two sections, is now that this one was drying while I was doing this one. So now I can go over to this one and unclamp it, because I know the bottom of that's stuck. And then I'm going to go ahead and wet this wood down, and I'll warp that down and do the same thing there. And I'll have the front sheeting, leading edge sheeting on. You can see that this side is done now. It's dried down pretty good. I took the can off of there. And I just went and did the clamps on the side so you can see how I clamped it. That's all. I didn't really need to do that, but I did it anyway. Never hurts to make a nice good tight seal on top of the glue and just let it sit for a few minutes. But there you go. Now we'll flip the wing over and get all the ribs on the wing. You can see I flipped the wing over now, so now this is the top side of the wing, and I'm looking at the bottom sheeting. So now what we're going to do with the bottom sheeting is I'm going to go ahead and hit every rib that we didn't before. Just run a bead of glue down the rib and down the inside seam right where it hits the center spar. This is just going to make sure I get a nice glue bond everywhere. There, and then I'll lean the wing forward and do the front edge. I'm just going to go through and hit every bay like that right now. So just getting all the trailing edges done, and you only have to hit one side of the rib. It should soak right through. Get to the other side. There you go. Just getting the sheeting on in a hurry. I'm doing a good job of it. Bonding it right up. I'm not going to worry about this baby letting go, I'll tell you that. Alright, I'm going to do the other side. Alright, I've glued all the inside bays. Now I'm just going to take some kind of stand, put it up behind the wing, and that way everything will run forward. And now I'm just going to hit that leading edge one more time. Just go down the leading edge, give that a little bit of glue. I'm going to make sure that the leading edge is going to stay because we're going to sand down the triangle. And like I said, we won't have this option when we get to the others, when we go to sheet the top of the wing, because that will be closed, so we'll be zapping all the framework and then putting the sheeting on, which is great with the wet wood that sticks right away. And then after you do this, make sure that you get a paper towel on hand and extend the whole wing into the air. That way nothing will stick to the floorboards, because it's probably going to leak through the edge. But there, the front edge sheeting is on, and that's all we need.